How are we doing? We recently moved the sofa in from an apartment of mine and noticed that it had like quite a severe tear. Must have happened either during moving or one of the tenants did it or whatever. But I thought I'd try and fix it myself using various techniques that I've seen online. But essentially, it shouldn't cost you more than, 10-15 quid to buy all the equipment for this. It's fairly straightforward and it only took me like literally minutes, but this is how I did it. What you'll need for this is some cleanser and some leather cleaner, as well as some glue, some spray-on glue, and a cloth. We were fortunate enough to have a bit of cloth, so I wanted to try two types. This sort of faux leather sort of fabric and some other fabric that we used on another project when we did the wagon. It's a thicker weave and I thought the leather would bind to it much better underneath. It'd be a lot cleaner to work with. The trick here really is to cut a piece of the fabric that's 2 to 3 inches overlapping the tear, so that when you place it in behind, it has plenty of sort of coverage underneath the leather. So when you glue it down, it has lots of purchase. Just remember to round the corners on the fabric because it makes it easier to feed it. When you feed it underneath the fabric, under the leather, sorry, it doesn't snag or anything like that. So rounded corners always helps. Next, really, you need to be wiping it down with some gentle leather cleaner, it says here, but it's essentially a rubbing alcohol. It evaporates really quickly, takes up all the grease and the grime. If it's an old sofa like this, I mean, this is like 15, 16 years old, so I doubt my tenants ever cleaned it. And when it's all set, I'm going to give it a proper thorough cleaning afterwards because it's mucky, I can tell you that. Next, you're going to start stuffing the fabric underneath the leather, being sure to get it nice and flat underneath the leather, so it's laid flat as best you can. If you've got an implement, I've got half a scissor here that the scissors can detach. I use that to poke it down, but you can use like a piece of stick or whatever you've got. People before have been using tweezers and what have you to feed it on, just to make sure that it's all covered all underneath. Use your finger to sort of flatten it out underneath and making sure that it's nice and center around the tear. And here comes the fun bit, spraying in the glue under the gap, and obviously it's at this point where I knew I had made a mistake with this glue, but it did the job. Ideally what you wanted was a contact adhesive, fabric adhesive, out of a tube, and you can feed it in with a Q-tip or a stick or something, or a toothpick. Getting the nozzle in to spray, it was a little bit troublesome. And then as soon as it hits the fabric, it gets so tacky, and I got it all over my fingers. And it was an absolute mess, and I regretted it as soon as I started spraying it. But I continued, and it was doing the job. So make sure that you get as far in underneath the fabric as you can, spraying as much as you can, and then it starts to get a bit tacky, it's sort of sticking to you. So I got most of it down, stuck most of it in, and it held. Towards the end, really, you want to be sort of putting in the finer details, finer bits of spray in the corners. And once you're happy with it, I went in with a toothpick later on and just caught the edges and stuck them down. After this, you want to start thinking about putting some weight on it. I put a book on and a kettlebell, 16 kilo kettlebell, to give it some weight, and I left it for a few hours just to see what it would do. So, and then when the reveal really was, took it off, and it seems to be okay. It's not perfect, but it will hold. It'll stand up. If I need to fix it again, I'll fix it again. It's a working sofa. That's what we use it for. It's not a museum. So not the best, but it'll do. Whilst I had all the kit out, I may as well have done the other one, so I turned my attention to what the dog's been sleeping on, this really old free sofa that we got, with a couple of chairs. And so I thought, well, we've had these repaired before by a professional and they've still gone wrong. So essentially what I did was I took out all the cushioning, opened it all out, used the other fabric, the faux leather fabric, opened it up, cut a piece to match the size of the bottom of the seat, and sprayed the glue on and stuck it down. And whilst I was at it, I did the other one, and then I went round with some brown leather dye and dyed in the holes, and I think the result of that is much better than what the professional did, in my opinion. And the dog seems to be happy for it, which they're eternally grateful for, I'm sure. All in all, I was pretty proud of myself for a proper amateur, so not a bad effort really. So if you like the channel, give us a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and leave a comment if you want to know more on how I did bits and bats, and feel free to get in contact. Thank you very much. Take it easy. Bye bye.